All right, guys. So for this one, we're gonna be solving this problem by using systems of linear equations and then using the substitution method to solve for it. So let's look into it and see how that works. So in this case, it says a local snack shack sells small and large smoothies, right? So it says so let's say that use X for the small smoothies and Y for the large smoothies. Okay, so it says each small smoothie costs the same, and each large smoothie costs the same, but more than a small. And then they give us two situations, right? They say Jordan bought two small smoothies and five large smoothies for $48, right? So again, this is X, this is Y. And then it says Taylor bought four small smoothies and three large smoothies, but they paid $40, right? And then they're saying, well, if Ava has $38, how many small smoothies can she buy after she purchases two large smoothies? Well, we can't answer this question here without knowing how much the small and large smoothies cost, right? So that's exactly what we're gonna have to figure out first, right? So in this case, we're gonna create an equation for both of these, right? So the first one says Jordan bought two small smoothies, so 2x, but then he also bought five large smoothies, right? So we're still using y that's equal to $48 that he spent, right? It comes from here. And then the second situation says Taylor bought four small smoothies and three large smoothies for $40. So that means this is 4x plus 3y is equal to $40 in this case, right? So in this case, again, in order for us to use substitution, we either have to have one of the equations be solved for x or for y. So we're gonna have to first have to manipulate one of these equations. I'm gonna choose to do the top one. So 2x plus 5y is equal to 48, right? So I'm going to solve for x. So if I'm solving for x, that means I have to move this 5y to the other side. So minus 5y to both sides to get 2x is equal to 48 minus 5y divided by 2 to each term. We get x is equal to 48 divided by 2 is 24. And then we get negative 5 divided by 2. Negative 5 halves. I'm just going to make it a decimal. So 2.5y. Right? That looks like a terrible 5. 5y. So now we're saying that x is equal to this right here, right? So now, again, we're using the substitution method. So we could now substitute that for this value of x. Right? So we have to substitute that into the equation. So let's do that. So we get 4x plus 3, not 4x, but 4, again, we know x, right? So in this case, this will go in here. So 24 minus 2.5y plus 3y is equal to 40. We're going to have to distribute this here. 4 times 24, we get 96. And then 4 times 2.5, we get negative 10y. Plus 3y is equal to 40. Can we combine it like terms? Yes, we can. These two right here, right? So we get 96 minus 7y is equal to 40. Subtract 96 to both sides. Again, I'm trying to solve for y, so negative 7y is equal to negative 56. Divided by negative 7 to both sides, we get y is equal to 8. So in this case, then, that tells us that the y, we said y was the large smoothies, right? This tells us that, in this case, right, what it tells us is that the large smoothies cost $8, right? That's what it means. And then now, so which gets us closer, right? We're trying to figure out the cost of both so we could determine the situation with Ava over here, right? So now we could substitute the value into x, right? To figure this out. So 24 minus 2.5, in this case times this 8. And we get x is equal to 24 minus 2.5 times 8 is 20. And we get that x is equal to 4. And now here, right, what this tells us is that the small smoothies cost $4 in this case, right? That's what it tells us. So, however, again, we're trying to figure out the situation with Ava, and they told us that Ava had $38, but they also told us that she already bought 2 large smoothies, right? And we know that the large smoothies, the Y was $8, $8. So that means that she bought, if each one of them is 8, she bought 2 of them. That means she spent $16 already, right? And if you subtract that from what she had, that means she only has $22 left, right? But they're asking, well, how many small smoothies could she buy? Well, if I have only $22 and each one of them is cost $4, that means that I could buy, in theory, 5.5 smoothies, right? Because 22 divided by 4 is 5.5. But in this case, can she afford the full? This case, if 5.5, you're probably going to ask me, do I round down or up? What do we do here? Well, in this case, right, if she wanted to buy 6 smoothies, let's say we round up, well, 6 smoothies, 6 times 4 would be 24. So she doesn't have $24. So that means that Ava can only buy 5 small smoothies at the end, right? She cannot afford to round up. In this case, she has to round down. And that's it. This is a different situation. The only difference from the other video, right, that we have in the channel about solving systems of linear equations in word problems is that they already had given us the systems. Here we had to build those 2 systems based on the situations right here, right? So that's important. You're gonna have to be able to do both. Make sure that you're ready for that, for the quiz and for the exam as well. Hope that helps.